Hey everyone, welcome to Allie's Corner, and I hope everybody has had a beautiful start to the new year in 2024. This week we are gonna talk about some toxicity that happens within fandom, as well as putting people on pedestals. So that includes any kind of celebrity, anything like that, because you want to make sure you kind of take a look at everything that's been going on. So let's just jump into it. So toxicity in fandom. You are going to have people, let's start off by prefacing, you are going to have people that do not get along, whether it's personality-wise, energy-wise, things of that nature. You are just going to have people that do not get along. You are going to have people that just don't mesh very well, whether it's somebody's personality overshadowing somebody else's or things of that nature. It happens in all fandoms. It's not just one in particular, but it does happen in all fandoms when it comes down to it. It's how you go about handling that, on how to address those situations and how you communicate with those situations to make it the best experience for everybody to avoid toxicity. When you have other people, other fans, putting other fans down for experiences they've had within that fandom, when you have them berating other fans for their experiences, or they're telling you that because you didn't get XYZ in your experience, that makes you lesser than the fan, that ends up either equaling out to being bullied within the fandom, or it's toxicity within that fandom. The people that are doing that are usually people that are insecure internally, and just want to hate on other people. And that is something that they have to deal with internally. They have to look in and have that self-awareness. They have to have that self-management. We live in a time where online presence is super important, but it has to be online presence in a positive, and maybe real manner, like real people, real problems type deal, versus curated social media. You can curate what's on your timeline. You can curate what's happening, but the post shouldn't be curated for perfection. You should be curating the post for maybe showing what real life is happening, what's going on in real time, being the real authentic version of you versus some hyped up Hollywood kind of bullshit. You don't want a curated version of you that's not the real you. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff comes in, is people are being put on pedestals, whether it's fans, whether it's celebrities, whether it's just people in general. And then when they have these experiences with other fans in the fandom, when they go to conventions or with other people in general within the fandom across social media or with the celebrities, they're like, well, that wasn't what I was expecting. And that's where the toxicity comes into play when you're interacting with people. So let's break it down to the fan aspect. So fans interacting with other fans. And conventions happen to be one of those things where you have a lot of that happening. So with fans interacting with other fans on social media first, and you're interacting and you don't really know that person, be very guarded. Be very like, hey, I probably shouldn't give this person information. Not necessarily trauma dump a lot of that stuff on social media or give a lot of that stuff. Learn social media management. Like, there's free classes online. You can look at things on YouTube. You can look at videos posted online. You can look at tutorials. There are even classes, free classes you can take for social media management and how to handle it in a public relations sense. So maybe take a look at that. Maybe look through, hey, what should I post on social media? What should I not? The internet is forever. No matter if you delete it, the internet is forever. Screenshots are forever, and people will bring that up consistently. So make sure if you want to post it online, you are okay with getting whatever, it might be positive reinforcement or backlash that you will get. So that is something to also take into consideration. Your mental health is first and foremost when it comes to posting on social media. So if you are not able to manage that mental health, maybe take a step back and realize, hey, is this going to affect me in a positive or negative way? And how do I manage that? How do I mitigate that to be able to interact with people in social media? Social media is definitely a great networking tool. It's right for there. But when you are blatantly going out and calling people out because you do not like their perception or perspectives, because your perception of them is not the greatest perception, don't call them out publicly. Don't shame them publicly. Don't do that publicly. Because what happens is then the perception of that other person that's doing all the calling out and things of that, especially in a fandom, switches it from the person that you might be calling out to the person that is doing the calling out. And then it takes a 360, and that group and whoever's affiliated with that group tends to have it switch on them, and it filters into reality outside of social media, and things like that can be used against people for things like defamation, libel, discriminatory practices. So I would say be careful what you post on social media, people. This is something that has come from years of being someone that has worked public relations, and what you post online is not something that you can immediately delete and be like, nobody's going to see it. If you have over, I would say 200 to 300 followers, be careful, because someone within that follower group is going to sometimes screenshot what you're posting, share it within a group chat with other people that they're talking to, and then eventually down the line could share that on another social media platform that is not maybe things like Twitter or things like Instagram or things like Facebook or Snap or TikTok, things of those natures. It could be in a very public setting where it's a YouTube expose video, from the journalistic aspect. Like, you have to really take into consideration the words you say. Words do hurt, and they cut deeper than a physical wound. That is a lot more with the mental and things of that nature. So if you're not in a good mental headspace, you're not doing things that is taking you into a good mental headspace, take a step back, reevaluate. It comes back to the emotional intelligence piece that I've had talked about, where self-awareness is super huge. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling it? Why does it make you feel that way? And how do you manage it before you can do that social management and that social awareness? You're not going to have any social awareness and any social management if you do not have the self-awareness and self-management on why you're feeling these ways. Why is that feeling happening? What triggered an emotion to pop up for you, and how do you manage that? Emotions happen for everybody. Everybody is human. So when it comes to that, the self-management piece, the looking internally, the figuring it out why, needs to happen first. And that comes with executive maturity. That comes with maturity in general. Really taking a step back and looking internally, that's for growth of you as a human being. And growth needs to happen for you to be the best version of yourself possible and the most authentic you possible. And if you think, I don't need to grow, I haven't need to grow since I've gotten out of high school, that is not the right mentality to have, because everybody grows every day. If you stagnate, you are not going to grow and grow into opportunities that you may receive. And I mean opportunities where it could be something life-changing for you in the future. And I get that you want to protect friends. Sometimes you need to read the room before you do that and jump to other people's defense, because is that other person the person causing all of the toxicity and drama within this fan groups, right? And I'm talking from multiple experiences throughout the fandom, throughout my entire life online. I've been online since a very young age. I didn't have any restrictions growing up. So I'm speaking at it from a fandom experience that has happened through multiple fandoms, through multiple pieces of my life that wasn't maybe the greatest experiences. And if you don't have that self-awareness and self-management, how are you mitigating and going through that, especially when something hurtful arises to where you aren't able to manage that? Making sure you have a supportive group around you that is not just boosting your ego, because ego is not a great thing to boost. You need to have people that are going to be around you and be real and call you out for what it is. If you are the person that is causing that internal drama within the groups that you're talking to, or just one group in particular, or if you are people calling out people to just cancel them for something stupid that was said online, take a step back. Why is that hurting you? Like, what age do you feel when that comes across? Because that is a self-management piece that you need to figure out. Is it something that is triggering something within you from something that's happened in your past? Or is it just because you want to cause some conflict? Do you enjoy fighting? Do you enjoy getting a dopamine kick because that's what you need at that point in time? And you really got to take a step back and look internally to stop that toxicity, because that toxicity will continue to grow and it makes the fandom experience suck for everyone. It turns in a great experience into a horrible mess and pieces of like crap for a lot of people, and a lot of people want to then distance themselves and not talk about that fandom in a social media aspect. And then we look at it in conventions, and then it bleeds over into the real world, right? So then these people go to conventions to hang out within this particular fandom, and then they hang out with a certain group that they've maybe met on social media, which is fantastic, you know, bringing people together. But then they also feel like they're alienated when they hang out with a certain group, due to the fact is then they get hate online, or they're being talked about privately, and they know they're being talked about privately within another certain group. And it just bleeds more conflict, because some people think that, you know, it should not happen, when in reality, like, if you really need to have someone on your mind and you need to talk about them in a harmful manner, or you just need to talk shit about them in a harmful manner, you need to take a look internally and do a lot of digging to why they're bothering you and why it's pissing you off. A lot of the times it comes down to they are probably jealous of the experiences that you are getting, or they are jealous for certain other reasons. It also comes down to that they may be jealous of you as a human being, and it comes down to maybe not even from the fandom experience, but they're jealous of you as a human. So when that comes into play, you gotta also take a look at that as well. With them being jealous of you as a human, you also want to look at a lot of that as well, because them jealous of you as a human, why? What about you is making them angry or making them upset or making them jealous? Because if it's you just as a person, because you're spilling love and kindness into the world, then they need to look internally, just as you need to look internally to grow as a human being. So I would say make sure, like, even at places like conventions, if you want to have a safe space to go, avoid the people that you know are not going to be the kindest. Avoid the people you know that are not going to be the most loving. Don't talk to them. Avoid them. If you go to cons by yourself, I've gone to cons by myself. I've stuck by myself. Like, I know that I'm not going to be there, and for other people to hang out with and things of that nature. And I've also gone and handed out little like trinkets, like ducks, to people. Hey, if you see me, you know, if you see my bag or see me in person, come say hi and I'll give you a little duck. But I've gone to cons by myself to be able to do that. So, like, it's a safety thing, and I understand that, but I also understand, like, if you have a safety question or a safety concern, maybe look internally to figure out why there's a safety concern. If you feel scared to go to conventions by yourself or travel by yourself or do anything by yourself, because I can tell you, as someone who is, for one, I'm gender fluid, for two, like, I dress femme sometimes, and I go and travel places by myself. I've never had a safety concern on how I carried myself or how I sounded or anything like that, because I know how to protect myself if it comes down to it, and I know where to go and what to do and who my emergency contacts are, even if they're not in the same state. Like, there's ways to have those concerns happen, and make sure you have that. Make sure you have all the safety concerns and things of that nature set up when you travel out of the state or out of the country or things of that nature, so you know. And when you travel out of the country, especially for things like a convention, and you are from the United States as an example, immediately go to the US Embassy and let them know, hey, I'm traveling here from a different country, so they are aware you are out of the country. So if anything were to happen, they know who to contact in case of an emergency, and it doesn't take a long time if you become a missing persons case. Like, there's a lot to go into public or your personal safety as well as public safety, but like, at a con, it's not just about your personal safety, it's about public safety. If a lot of the public are coming out and making complaints for a particular person or group or whatever about a particular costume, right? There are things or particular, you know, word that's being said. There are things that the cons do. There are rules to conventions. And when it comes down to public safety and more than one person talking about it or complaining about it or filing complaints, that becomes a public safety concern. When it becomes a public safety concern, people can be removed at any point in time for a public safety concern. Y'all need to realize that when you buy tickets to conventions, You are agreeing to terms and services of the convention, which means at any point in time, if they are posted to the website, or if it changes, or if complaints are made, anyone at any time, including the talent, can be removed for public safety concerns. Like, it's not, this is part of public relations. It's not a newfound thing. This is something that's been happening for concerts for decades. I was a music journalist for 4 years, and I can tell you, I've watched bands get removed for public safety concerns, and not public safety concerns for the bands, but because the bands were public safety concerns for the audience. I've had audience members that I've known, friends that I've known, get removed from concerts because they were public safety concerns for other audience members and members of the band. Like, if you do stupid shit, you win stupid prizes, guys. Be considerate of the people that are around you. Don't make people feel less than, and don't make people feel like they're being bullied, whether online, whether in person. Don't make people feel like they're being alienated from a group, especially in the fandom. It's going to make the experience shitty for everybody. Celebrities see this. Even if they do not have social media, their public relations teams see this. It is filtered down to them, and they see the mess that is their fandom. I can tell you from experience that a lot of the fandoms that I have been in, these celebrities know what is going on within their fandom. They know the fighting. They know the main players that are causing the drama consistently, and they are on watch lists. I'm going to let you know this now. If you don't already know, a lot of the fandoms, there are watch lists. A lot of celebrities have watch lists for people to be aware of. Part of the public relations game. Their publicists, their PR team, their managers, their agents have watch lists of people to watch out for when they go to places like conventions, or when they do runs where they go to premieres and things of that nature, for things like paparazzi, crazy fan encounters, people like stalking, people that know their ins and outs. They even have them for people in their personal lives that may leak information to the media, or may leak information to the fans. So y'all, be careful what you post. Social media is forever. Like, anything you post online, the internet is forever. It takes a lot to get it scrubbed. Even if they say it's been scrubbed, it's no longer online, somebody has a copy of it somewhere that it will remain online forever. I can tell you there are audition tapes where celebrities have had auditions and they've stayed online. Sebastian Stan is one of them. I can tell you that for a fact. I've been in that fandom for a very long time, and he has audition tapes that have been released. They were put on Vimeo, and his agent and manager have said, hey, this needs to be scrubbed, and they are still circulating on places like Tumblr. So realistically, nothing goes away online. They did it for the NSYNC fandom when I was a kid, and they do it for a lot of the fandoms that I'm in as an adult now. So be careful what you post, curate your social media. Maybe take a media literacy class, or watch media literacy videos on how to post to social media and what to post. If you want to post your innermost thoughts, cool, post the innermost thoughts. Know that the unhinged stuff can come back to haunt you. Know what you post may come back to bite you. It's really something that you really need to take into consideration, because that can lead, for one, especially if you're calling people out and you're attacking other people for it, it can come to bite you. But also, you may be made to look like a dick in the fandom or an asshole, if you're not, putting out the most pleasant things, and you're saying nasty shit about other people. So your actions have consequences, and that's all about self-management, self-awareness. How do you manage social awareness and social management if you have no self-awareness and self-management? And no, you're not the center of everybody's universe, and not everybody thinks about you 24/7. If you have particular people on your mind 24/7 and they're human beings, and you put them up on a pedestal, that's an issue. And I'm not talking celebrities. I'm talking fans, other fans in a fandom. Like, I get wanting to make people viral and make people celebrities. I understand that. I get that. But normal fans that go to conventions and share their experiences should not be put on a pedestal. You can say that they've had a great experience. You can say that they have the cutest pictures out there. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't raise them above you. Because they are normal human beings. They have flaws just like everybody else. I've seen this across a lot of media. I've seen this across, like, I can tell you, I saw this stuff on MySpace. I saw this stuff through a lot of phases within my life, starting from like preteens to teens to my like a lot of my high school years, through my adulthood in the music industry, coming into the industry that I work in now, all the way on up through, the fandoms that I'm a part of now. So stop placing people on pedestals, because like even in my workplace, there are people that place my other coworkers on pedestals, and I'm like, they're just a normal human being that I've gone out with drinks for after work, or I've gone out and hung out with on the weekends. Like, they're normal average people. There's nothing additional for that. Stop placing them above you, because when you do that, you are willing to say that I am less than that other person. You are not. You are just as much as that other person if you are working at the same level as a human being. They may have a little bit more money. It doesn't give them more in life than you necessarily when it comes to loving kindness. Because the person that may have more financially may be a shit person. Just FYI. They may not be the greatest person, because money changes people. Like, they may have different problems than you, but they still have problems. They're flawed. Everybody shits and pisses and takes showers just like everybody else. Everybody has to eat just like everybody else. It's the quality of life that they get, not the quantity of life. So they may have a better quality, but they don't have a different quantity. I think that's the other thing, is just because you place someone up on a pedestal doesn't mean they don't have problems. They are probably a lot more insecure than you realized. They are probably facing a lot more mental health issues than you realize. And by putting them up on the pedestal, you're building an ego. When you build an ego and it comes out that this person is not the greatest person and they're actually kind of a piece of shit, what happens at that point is then the pedestal topples. And then they start getting hated on and they start having all these other issues. When that happens, we are having a different type of conversation, because then you have people that are getting blacklisted within the fandom with other people. You're then having people getting hated on. You then have people that get death threats that are normal average humans. When that happens, you are having issues. Because then you have average human beings that are living actual lives, that are working normal average jobs, that do not have the status celebrity. They don't have celebrity protections, meaning they don't have agents, managers, publicists to filter all that information out, to have that protection when they actually need it, that are getting death threats mailed to them directly. When you don't have that and you don't have the protection to where you can like hire security guards to watch you 24/7 and things of that nature, you have things like suicide rates that go up. You have things like deaths from people that stalk them that go up. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself first and foremost, and making sure you're taking care of your mental health, which is why self-management and self-awareness is so huge. But also make sure that you are taking care of yourself in a protection sense when it comes down to making sure that you are placing yourself in a group of people that you know that are safe. Not everybody you meet online is going to be a safe space. I'm going to say that again. Not everybody you meet online is going to be a safe space. You have to know how to discern who is safe and who is acting. Most people you find, there may be a handful of people that aren't, but like there are going to be a lot of people that, because of status of where you got with virality and being viral online, are seeing you for money, or seeing you for, can I get viral if I meet this person and hang out with this person? Not realizing that they don't actually give a shit. They don't care about you as a human being. They care about what you can provide. So they are using you. You need to learn how to discern that. If you can't learn to discern that, then you are not going to be able to make it. If you want to be a celebrity, if you want to be famous, you need to learn discernment. Discernment is going to be huge. You need to know who's on your side and who is just using you. That is a harsh reality of the world we live in when it comes to being viral. When it comes to things like influencers getting, viral and having all this stuff happen, they have a small circle of friends. They do not have a big circle of friends. They have friends that they can count maybe on one or two hands. They don't have a friend group that is 30, 40, 50, 60 people deep. Everybody else outside of the one to two, friends they can count on their hand and maybe family members are acquaintances. They don't get to know them on a deep, concerning, meaningful level. It's about making deep connections with people and not everything baseline. If you want to learn how to really get deep connections with people, learn how to read people on a basis of where it's like energy levels. You can learn astrology. You can learn how to read energies. You can also learn body language reading. Body language reading is huge. When people lie to you, they're going to be tells. When people recall stories or recalling the information they're trying to tell you, they'll look off in different directions, and they'll roll their eyes, look off in different directions as they're recalling things. That is normal. If people are looking directly at you, not blinking, not showing any type of emotion when they're talking or when they're recalling a story, they are lying. They lie. It's the micro actions of the face, or the micro movements of the muscles, which give off a lot. It's also how they carry their body. You can tell when someone is nervous. You can tell all of that just by reading body language. So become attuned to how you read it. There are actually ways to do that. There are videos on how to learn how to read body language, how to learn how to read micro expressions, how to learn how to read tone and voice. There are so many videos out there. There are even classes on it. And when you have all of that and you learn how to read all of that, you can learn if people genuinely like you for you, and if they're genuinely on your side and want to see you succeed, or if they are just using you to become viral and popular and all of that stuff online or in reality. That's why networking is so huge. It's not about necessarily who you know, but it's about what information can you bring to those people and how much information can you share and the knowledge can you share. Are you of value? Do you bring value to people? Versus just placing people on a pedestal in a fandom because they have such a great experience. Guys, we're not living in 2004 to 2010. This is 2024. And the great experiences that we've seen on MySpace, realistically, that stuff is gone. Curated media to where it's just happiness and sunshine and rainbow, that's gone. It's about reality, and it's about making sure that you're curating your media to, for one, help your mental health, but for two, to show the real you and the real authentic you. And even if it's speaking your mind, it may not be the most popular opinion, it may be a hot take. People may not agree with you. People don't have to agree with you because people don't have to like you. Not everybody's going to like you. And I think that's where people don't seem to realize, if you place a lot of people because of the great experiences that they have up on a pedestal, you put them above you and you're beneath them, you're creating a class system that is based on how well people can go viral and things of that nature. And I don't think people realize that it's not about that. People do have status. There are going to be people that are in, for example, celebrities have a status of celebrity or have a status of fame to where they can get into places and they can do things because they have status. That happens with certain titles. That happens with certain amounts of money that people have. But also people with status can live like any other person. They don't have to use their status to do things. And I think that's where people realize, celebrities, for example, you don't have to put them on a pedestal and put them up here because they're a different status level. Bring them down to your level and talk to them like they're your best friend. Talk to them hey, you're just like me. You're human. You breathe, sleep, eat, go to the bathroom just like I do. The food you eat may be a little bit different. Like we may not be within the same status to be able to eat the same foods. Like somebody may go ahead and eat lobster, crab, oysters, and like sushi every day. And then other people may sit there and eat things like macaroni and cheese, box pasta, things of that nature, where it's a little bit more hearty versus like seafood every day. But it's okay. Like there's okay to have differences, but you can still treat them like a human being. You don't have to put them on a pedestal to where you'd be like, here's all my money, I want to go see you. Like you can have favorite celebrities, but you don't have to break the bank, and you don't have to go bankrupt or become homeless to see a certain celebrity. See him within reason. So, certain, I can tell you from experience, like people, when I go to cons and stuff like that, I'm going because I can afford it. I've have all my bills paid. I've put in savings. Like this is how I do it. I have savings already built up. I dip into that savings. I go ahead and spend for cons. I build that savings back up. I'm not taking away from my bills. I am not taking away from my bills. Let me say it again. I am not taking away from my bills. My bills are already paid. So I'm paying my bills, and I'm dipping into the savings that I have to be able to take these trips, because I continuously save for savings. I have things like high yield interest accounts, high yield savings accounts for my savings and things of that nature. So I continuously save. This is where I make smart decisions and things that I invest in, stocks, bonds, savings accounts, where I just funnel money in to where I may not go ahead and eat out all of the time. I may go and eat like a broke college kid, and put everything else in savings because I want to take trips. Like it's something that I've personally done, but it's also something that I do consistently to make sure that I can do amazing things within my life. It's about my experience. It's about the experiences, right? And not putting people on pedestals and treating everybody like they're equals, unless you have done something, right, to either offend me or kind of piss me off. I don't forgive very easily as a human being. And that's the self-management, self-awareness piece that I've worked on, and I work on quite heavily. But when you are doing this consistently within fandoms, at conventions, or with celebrities, you'll notice that you're willing to do whatever it takes to watch people fall and crumble to be able to see certain celebrities. You'll do whatever it takes, including stalking, including death threats, to be able to see certain celebrities or be able to get that status with certain celebrities. It's not about that. It's about treating them as human beings. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short when it comes to being in those fandoms and having that toxicity. Realize that it's realistically about showing kindness and being loving and having that self-management and self-awareness. It's about you working on you and you looking internally. It's not about everybody else. If somebody else triggers you because of something, no, and I'm not saying pushing a boundary. I'm saying if somebody else triggers you by something that they say, because it's bringing up something that you haven't worked on internally, that is not a them thing, because they would not have known necessarily what triggers you. That is a you thing that you need to work on. It's part of the emotional intelligence piece of like, hey, self-management, self-awareness, those are the first two steps. If you cannot master those and like continuously work on those, you are not going to be able to be in a social environment to socially be aware and socially manage things. And it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. And then you're going to put people on pedestals and you're going to worship people like they're gods. That are normal human beings that have flaws, that are kind of shit people, and then they're going to get an ego. And then when they start to crumble and they start getting reported for stuff because they're shit human beings and they're causing toxicity within fandoms and they're getting called out on it and they're being put through these rigorous, hey, this is what it is, this is what's happening, because they're causing shitty experiences for other people. Then when people jump to their defense because they're only seeing the one side of it and not the negative side of it, then you're going to have discourse. And when you have that discourse, you have a lot of things happening. I can tell you from experience that those people that are having a lot of things happen where they have that negative discourse, they need to look internally. It's a lot about self-reflection. Do you want to be the change you want to see in the world, or do you want to see the world burn? Because if you want to see the world burn, you need to look at seeing what change you want to bring to that world and start bringing it. People may not remember your name after you have gone, but people remember the impact that you may have brought. The name may not be there, but the impact will be. How many people do you want to remember the kindness and love that you have put out into the world versus the ego, versus the narcissistic traits, versus the pedestal, versus the shitty behavior for causing bullying and toxicity and all of that stuff? Because that is not okay. It's going to be a lot of a different perspective, especially when you are causing massive amounts of people to sit there and report you to not only places like conventions, but people like public relations people, to where you end up on things like watch lists for celebrities. And it happens. Like, I've watched it when I was in the music field. And I've watched like friends of mine end up on watch lists to where they were like, hey, so I'm going to be at this like concert. And I'm like, you're not though. Because I knew what happened, especially when it came down to knowing what's happening in these celebrities or bands' personal lives, when you ultimately should not have known what was happening in their personal lives. And especially when you have friends or family members of this person or people or bands or whatever feeding you that information, their publicist knows about it and knows pretty heavily. Like, just so you are aware, publicists don't follow people, especially like significant others of celebrities, if they're doing good things. Publicists usually follow people for not doing good things. And it's usually we need to have a conversation and I'm going to monitor your social media, because they have not had social media or media training. But stop. Like this is you need to stop with the stalking, stop with the putting people on pedestals. Everybody is human. Everybody has toxic behaviors that they need to improve on themselves. Like, I will admit the same thing for myself. It comes down to make sure everybody's having an equal and fun experience, especially when you go to places like cons or you go to premieres or you do fun things where it's just like, hey, I'm going to go meet up with my friends that I met online and it's going to be a fun experience. Make sure you're not putting anybody down. If you're going because you're meeting up for a celebrity in particular, make sure you have a fun time. Make sure you're not putting anybody down. If you want to meet new people, go out, meet new people, have a fun time, go and be an extrovert, go and talk to those people. But make sure it's always with love and kindness. Like, I mean, lots of love and lots of kindness. Never approach it like I'm better than anybody else, because you're not. You are not. When it comes down to it, we all bleed, we all sleep, we all eat, we all do the same things outside of status. We all are human. Next week, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about Hello Boss and Has Been Hotel, because, or the week after, I have some trips coming up. I'm going to be out of town and away from stuff. So I want to talk about Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss next week, kind of transition out of the emotional, well, not transitioning out. It's more along the lines of talking about trauma from those shows. But it's gonna be good. I hope everybody has a beautiful rest of the week, and I will talk to you later. Until next time, this has been Allie's Corner.